Right now, noon, U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany entering the race for Wisconsin governor, what he plans to run on for his campaign. Plus, Jimmy Kimmel making a comeback. New reaction to the late night host's emotional return to air. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Josh Spreiter. After months of speculation, U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany is now entering the race for governor in Wisconsin. Tiffany represents the 7th Congressional District in northern Wisconsin. He won a special election in 2020 after the resignation of Sean Duffy, who is now the Transportation Secretary. Tiffany won that race by 14 points and has won re-election by more than 20 points in each of his 3 re-elections. In his campaign video, he listed his priorities as protecting Wisconsin farmers, freezing property taxes, and keeping transgender students out of girls' sports. Earlier today, he sat down with For the Record host Ellie LaLiberte.
There's a lot of ways in which Wisconsin is not keeping up with the states that are really prosperous in America. We can do better. We need good leadership. I believe I can provide it.
And so you're kind of seen as a Trump loyalist. How do you think that that will play in a purple state here in Wisconsin?
Well, I think once people get to know me, they'll know I'm my own man. Now, the president has done some good things for America, and I certainly support his agenda. But they're going to find out that I'm my own man. I'll make my own decisions in regards to what needs to get done here.
You can find this full interview up right now on channel3000.com. Tiffany joins businessman Bill Berrien and Washington County Executive Josh Schoeman in the race as the Republican candidates who have entered so far. Meanwhile, the Democrats currently have 5 candidates running. They are Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, State Representative Francesca Hung, State Senator Kelda Roys, and beer vendor Ryan Strand. An update now, UW-Madison police say they've cleared the scene after reports of a man with a knife near campus this morning. Officers were asking the public to avoid the area of Johnson Street and Wisconsin Avenue. The first Badger-safe WISC alert went out around 8:44 this morning. Then around 9:10, UW-PD cleared the scene, saying people could return to their normal activities. Police have not released a description of the man or the circumstances surrounding that incident. Right now, at least 2 people are dead after a shooting at a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement field office in Dallas. Around 6:40 this morning, officers responded to the call from the facility. According to police, the suspect opened fire at a government building from an adjacent one. 2 people were taken to a local hospital with gunshot wounds. 1 person died at the scene. We've now learned another person has died. The shooter died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. No law enforcement officers were wounded in that incident. The Wisconsin Department of Agriculture has given Ridgeland Farms an ultimatum: accept a $55,000 penalty by Friday or face criminal charges. The Dane County Beagle breeding facility received 311 violations following a state inspection. Most of the violations involve cherry eye surgery, which is the removing of a 3rd eye gland without anesthesia. The agency says if Ridgeland doesn't agree to the civil forfeiture, the case will go to the Dane County District Attorney.
We question whether the district attorney would actually be interested in pursuing these claims for the reasons that we tried to articulate to DATCAP, which is there's no factual or legal basis to support them.
Ridgeland officials defend the procedures as necessary for animal research, and they say following USDA standards. The facility houses more than 3,000 dogs. State law doesn't give DATCAP the power to seize animals. That authority rests with local law enforcement. Dane County supervisors are pushing to have the state revoke Ridgeland's license. Turning to the weather now, here's First Warn meteorologist Jacob Montesano. Hi, Jacob.
Hey Josh, as we take a look outside, this is a live view from Platteville showing plenty of cloud cover, and this is the situation across a lot of southern Wisconsin. But despite that cloud cover, we're not seeing any rainfall. Very dry across the state. All this light green you're seeing, likely not even rainfall, and this is going to be the case throughout much of the day. We'll continue to see a good amount of cloud cover with pretty much not a big chance of rain at all. But then we will see some clearer skies once we get to the evening, and overnight will feature a few clouds here and there, but not as much cloud cover. But we could see some fog by the time we get to Thursday morning. Looking at the current temperatures, a little bit cooler compared to this time yesterday, middle to upper 60s for a lot of the region, upper 50s for places further north. And throughout the day, the temperatures aren't going to rise too much further. We'll see highs right around 70, very close to normal for this time of the year. Looking at the evening forecast, still going to stay in the 60s again. We'll see clearer skies the later we get. And as we head to the overnight hours, although we could see some fog, we're not going to see a ton of cloud cover with lows dropping into the lower 50s. So a little bit of a cooler morning for Thursday. And then Thursday afternoon will feature a little bit more sunshine, actually maybe a lot more sunshine, with high temperatures a little bit warmer as well into the lower 70s. And those temperatures, they're going to continue to warm up from there. I'll talk more about that coming up a bit later.
All right, we'll see you then, Jacob. Thank you. Jimmy Kimmel is back on Late Night nearly a week after Disney suspended him. In his monologue, Kimmel did not apologize and took jabs at his critics, but he was still off the air in cities where dozens of ABC affiliates refused to run the show. Here's Jonathan Vigliotti.
Greeted by chants and a lengthy standing ovation, it was a triumphant return for late night host Jimmy Kimmel.
I'm happy to be here tonight with you.
An emotional Kimmel took the stage for the first time since his nearly week-long suspension following comments he made about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
That it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it.
In his monologue, Kimmel took aim at his critics, saying he felt lucky to live in a country where he could speak freely.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
He thanked supporters, including Democrats and Republicans, who united against efforts to censor the comedian.
It takes courage for them to speak out against this administration, and they did, and they deserve credit for it, and thanks.
Two major station groups, Sinclair and Nexstar, said they would not air Kimmel's program on Tuesday. They represent about a quarter of ABC affiliates. Kimmel also slammed FCC Chairman Brendan Carr over his apparent threats to scrutinize ABC because of his show.
In addition to being a direct violation of the First Amendment, is not a particularly intelligent threat to make in public.
He really came out tonight and set a tone that was respectful, a little apologetic, but as irreverent as ever, because that's who Kimmel is.
Entertainment Tonight host Kevin Frazier.
He was tested not only by the network, by the affiliates, but also people in this country who were questioning him. And he stood 2 feet deep in the sand and said, "Here I am."
Kimmel also had a little help from Robert De Niro, who channeled past roles to star as a new mafioso FCC chair.
Speech, it ain't free no more.
What? It's not free no more?
Yeah, we're charging by the word now.
And just before the show aired, President Trump weighed in online, writing, and I quote here, "I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back." The White House was told by ABC that the show was canceled. The president then appeared to threaten another lawsuit against ABC, writing, "I think we're going to test ABC out on this." Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News, Hollywood.
Coming up next on News 3 Now at noon, how much Disney is hiking up prices on its streaming services, plus why demand for electric vehicles is revving up this month.
Demand for electric vehicles has revved up with federal tax credits set to run out next week. According to a report from Cox Automotive, new EV sales increased nearly 18% last month compared to a year ago. Used EV sales were up 59% in the same time period. Cars.com says there's a 33% jump in demand for EVs since last year. The federal government's tax credits of up to $7,500 for EV purchases will expire on September 30th. Disney is hiking prices on its streaming services. Starting October 21st, the ad-supported Disney Plus plan will jump $2 to $11.99 a month. The ad-free version is increasing by $3 to $18.99 a month. Fees for bundled plans with Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN will also increase. The announcement comes as Disney has faced calls for boycotts after its temporary suspension of ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live show, which returned last night. And Sprouts Organics is expanding the recall of its combined sweet potato, apple, and spinach baby food pouches because they may contain elevated levels of lead. The pouches were sold exclusively by Walgreens in more than 24 states. No illnesses have been reported so far. Consumers can return the recalled pouches to their local store for a full refund. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Jesse Mitchell.
Here's a look at the current stock numbers at the noon hour. The Dow is down 132 points, NASDAQ down 118, and the S&P 500 down this hour 22. Our call for action volunteers are in the building, taking your consumer complaints and taking action on your behalf. Call for action at 608-270-2833 or submit a claim anytime at channel3000.com/call for action. After the break, Pam has today's farm numbers, plus Jacob is tracking the first warn forecast. Then later on Live at 4, Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company on how fall could change things for your garden. Send us your questions now to tips@channel3000.com, and she'll answer them live at 4. Welcome back. Let's check in now with Pam Yankee for the Midwest Farm Report. Hi, Pam.
Hey, Josh. Yeah, busy time around a lot of farm fields in Wisconsin. This weather is really cooperating almost with anything you want to raise. In fact, Jason Cavadini, our University Extension grazing specialist, said the cooler weather that we experienced earlier in September and the ample moisture has given a lot of pasture folks some good news as far as the volume of feed they've got for their livestock. Doesn't end there. As of Sunday, about 41% of our corn had been chopped for silage for our dairy animals, and it looks like about 65% of our potatoes have already been dug on their way to grocery stores near you or into storage. I'm happy to report my winter wheat is planted, and that's the case for at least 29% of the state's farmers, and a lot of it has already emerged, so that's good news. Well, we're already getting our running shoes on here in the farm department for World Dairy Expo 2025. Now, the show itself doesn't officially begin until Tuesday next week, but I'll tell you what, tomorrow the cows are already going to start showing up, so if you're somebody that's sensitive to traffic on the Beltline, you might want to get used to seeing a few more livestock trailers tomorrow. Staff from the Wisconsin Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection, as well as professors, doctors, and students from the UW School of Veterinary Medicine on campus will be checking the health papers for all of those animals as they get to the Alliant Energy Center grounds. I'm going to be hightailing it out there to learn a little bit more about what they're looking for specifically this year. And then remember, on Monday next week, the exhibitors start moving in. And like I said, Tuesday, the official grand opening of the Granddaddy of the Dairy Shows. The theme this year is the Road to Madison. Our road is taking us to London next year. I sure want to encourage you to jump online. Brochures are now ready. The video of our travel update is now ready. Just jump online if you want to come along with me next March to London, Wales, and the Lake District. I am looking forward to it. I'll be putting another video up in just a little bit here. HolidayVacations.com. Enter Pam as your keyword search, and you should have the details there. And like I said, if you don't have access or want to fool around with the internet, call them and tell them that you want a brochure to go along with the Farm Babe. Well, the markets today in Chicago, corn, beans, wheat, everything holding fairly firm. But I'll tell you, our dairy markets took a downturn. I can't find a fluid milk contract that is in the up position on the midday. Our barrel cheese today up 3.5. That's good news at 164.5. 40-pound block cheese gains a penny at 164. But for those that are baking or planning on using butter, that's a good story for you. That actually went down 6 cents today, Josh. Butter now down to $1.62 per pound. So, for those people that like to bake or are already looking forward to the holidays, you might as well put it in the freezer while it's at $1.62 because I'm guessing closer we get to the holidays, the more that price is going to go up.
Yeah, time to stock up. And I mean, speaking of the holidays, every store is already in Christmas heaven. Everywhere I go around here, it's crazy. Which will be here before we know. We're already talking about the Dairy Expo. So time's flying.
Yeah.
All right, Pam, good to see you today.
All right, buddy, take her easy. You
too. Let's look ahead to the weekend. The True North Music and Food Festival is coming to the Duck Pond. The festival features some of Madison's best chefs and emerging regional music. Our partner, Madison Magazine, is a proud sponsor of the event. Tickets can be found at truenorthfest.com and start at $15. $2 from each ticket sold will benefit Domestic Abuse Intervention Services, or DAYS, and the Dane County Food Collective. Again, that is this Saturday, the 27th. Well, dry and comfortable conditions outside. Here's First Warn meteorologist Jacob Montesano with the forecast. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Josh, and those dry and comfortable conditions, they're going to last for the most part. Now, we're going to see seasonable temperatures for the rest of today into tonight, but then we're going to see those temperatures really warm up with highs near 80 for the entire weekend, and will also be very, very dry going forward. We really have almost no chance of rainfall over the next 7 days. Now, before I talk about the temperatures and the lack of rainfall, I do want to mention that we are going to see some foggy conditions for tonight into Thursday morning. Visibilities could drop to near a quarter of a mile, so definitely just be aware of it as you travel to your destination Thursday morning. Friday morning, maybe some patchy fog for areas to the north, but the fog in general won't be as bad. And then right now we're not expecting as foggy conditions for the weekend. Now, looking at the cloud cover forecast, we'll see a little bit clearer skies for the evening. Still can't completely rule out a very isolated shower or sprinkle this afternoon, but most of the area will continue to be very dry. And looking at tomorrow, after we see that morning fog, we're going to see very clear skies, just a few clouds here and there for Thursday. And by the time we get to the weekend, we're barely going to see any clouds at all. And looking in general at the chance of rainfall, again, very isolated chance of a light shower today into tonight, but most of the area going to be dry. And then we're almost certainly looking dry for the end of the week, the weekend, and into next week as well. Now, temperatures today, they're going to be close to normal. The average high is 70, and that's going to be pretty close to where we are. Again, more sunshine later in the day. Clear skies for the most part overnight. Lows will be dropping to near 50. Again, very close to normal for this time of the year. And then tomorrow we'll start to see those temperatures warm up. Highs will be in the middle to lower 70s. And then from there, they're just going to continue to warm up. By the time we get to the weekend, we're going to have highs near 80. And we could very well see highs in the lower 80s for several days in a row. And although the temperatures will drop a little bit for the middle of next week, we're still talking about those high temperatures in the middle 70s. And by the time we get to the middle of next week, the average high will be down in the 60s. So at this point in time, pretty much any day that's in the 70s will be above normal for this time of the year. And if you like those 70s, you're in luck, because it looks like that's going to continue for the first week of October. And we really continue to see not a big chance of rainfall. So a very nice 10-day forecast in general, especially considering at this point in time, we're still not too concerned about drought conditions forming. Now, if this is prolonged, obviously we would notice that, but obviously the time of year is also important to take into consideration when it comes to the drought. Not too concerned about drought conditions in the fall time in general. Overall, though, very, very nice forecasts and borderline summer-like by the time we get to the weekend. I had mentioned when we saw those middle 80s last week that we're bound to get back to the 80s again after this, little bit of a cool down that we've been seeing the last few days. And here it is. It's going to happen again over the weekend, at least probably going to happen at some point. So if you like those warm temperatures, again, soak them in, because eventually we're going to see those temperatures really cool down.
Yeah, we know it won't last forever. All right, Jacob, thank you. Culver's is celebrating Curd-toberfest this year, which means new items and fan favorites are hitting the menu. New jalapeno cheese curds will make their debut on National Cheese Curd Day, October 15th. Then stick around through the end of the month, backed by popular demand. What started as an April Fool's joke, the Curder Burger returns on Monday, but only through October 14th. Up next, we'll see what Howard's working on in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Your favorite deli sandwich is turned into a tasty deli salad. Stay tuned for this crazy good idea. One of our favorite things to do here in the test kitchen is to take a recipe and sort of reinvent it in a whole new way. Today, we're taking one of our favorite deli sandwiches, the Reuben, and turning it into a pasta salad that is sure to become a favorite in your house. We start by cooking and draining some pasta. Here we use bow ties, but you can use whatever you have on hand or whatever's on sale. While that cools, we dice up some deli corned beef. This is also a great way to use up that leftover corned beef. Okay, now we toss the pasta with our chunked up corned beef, along with some Swiss cheese, sauerkraut, just make sure it's drained really well, a few caraway seeds, and some Russian or Thousand Island dressing. Once that's all mixed, let it sit in the fridge for a bit so all the flavors can blend. The nice thing about this is that it's hearty enough to serve for dinner, yet light enough as the perfect side dish. It's one of those recipes that seems so simple, yet whenever we serve it, it's always a hit. The recipe for our Reuben macaroni salad is online now, and maybe just the ticket you're looking for to shake up lunch or dinner. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we're looking for a different way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Here's Jacob with a final check of your forecast.
Thanks, Josh. Not really much to talk about when it comes to the forecast. Maybe an isolated shower today into tonight, but for the most part, we're going to be dry with warmer temperatures for the end of the week and the weekend. And even towards the middle of next week, we're still talking about highs easily in the 70s. So although it technically is fall, still not really going to feel like it. But as I mentioned a moment ago, it's eventually going to cool down. So definitely take advantage of these temperatures while they last.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Thanks for watching News 3 Now at noon. Coming up next is The Bold and the Beautiful. Our next newscast is live at 4, and you can always find us streaming on Channel 3000+.